Hola Madridistas, welcome to a special or maybe even an emergency edition of the LBR podcast. We're here to, calm down all of your nerves and talk through some of the solutions for the difficult months ahead with all of the injury news that we had over the past weeks. So this is exactly why we have my co-host Farooq here, a man who, can calm down the rough seas and make some sense of what we can expect from Carlo.
Well, man, I mean, that's the thing. It's already, a very, very narrow squad, I would say. And then, it just even got narrow, as you say, it's just an emergency episode because everything has just, gone into the drains right now and all the depth that we thought we had in the middle of the park. And now you look at it and you're like, okay, do we even actually have depth there? Obviously it's, caused by injuries. And then you look at even the center back situation, where one suspension or one, injury away from you also going into crisis. And let's not even talk about the forward line. So yeah, what the word used as an emergency, is the perfect. And I'm very sure right now, and interestingly, it's just not about us. It's all about all the teams across Europe as well. Like it's just a very very interesting couple of weeks. It has been like where everyone is just falling like flies. I really wonder how when or how we will say enough is enough, or rather when they will say enough is enough. Because as we can see, this is impossible to sustain.
Yeah, so right now, for all of our audio listeners, we have a slideshow prepared, and this is exactly why we have Farooq as well, because he is a professor. This is his bread and butter, going through slideshows, taking classes. But yeah, we have some stuff put on the screen. So if you are right now listening on audio platforms, you can come and check out our YouTube as well if you want to follow along. But we'll make sure you can follow along over there on the audio as well. We'll make things extra clear. So over to the first slide, we just and it's the whole international break. So we have some big names out injured. So obviously we've had the terrible injuries to Vinicius and Camavinga, almost 2.5 months out with injuries. Then there's been a lot of minor injuries with Onana, Rashford, the likes of even Haaland getting injured. Did you actually hear about the Haaland injury, Farooq? And then people were saying that he actually got out of the Norway fixtures just so he could be extra fresh for the Liverpool matchup for Man City.
I read something like that, but I don't know how true they are because I want to believe that these players are like top professionals and they wouldn't pull stunts like this. But then yeah, I mean, Norway is basically horse shit right now, honestly. But yeah, it's a very young squad. Hopefully, with time they can gel and become a good team. But I wouldn't count. So I wouldn't read too much into those rumors, man. They're nothing but rumors.
Yeah, and last but not the least, like the injury to Gavi is what uh,
Yeah.
shook the whole of La Liga. Like people didn't really care. I feel like people are taking it less lightly, the injuries to Vinicius and Camavinga because we have a lot of depth, or people think that we have a lot of depth. But then the injury to Gavi, actually, people were like, "Fuck, man, we have nobody to play now with Barcelona, and everyone's out injured. So what's going to happen to the league and whatnot?" So did you actually catch a clipping of how Gabby got injured? It was a non-contact thing, so it was for sure the fact that he was playing way too many minutes. Um,
I mean, the point is to see. Honestly, like even I share that sentiment with a lot of fans. Actually, I wasn't worried about La Liga what is not, but I was just worried about the fact that this is basically a teenager who has been playing forever and ever and ever and ever, right? What happens is that De La Fuente decides to uh, bench 9 players for a dead rubber, and he decides to start the teenager who has literally played every fucking single game that is available to be played. You know, this is the person that he decides to start in a game that has no meaning. A couple of moments before he actually had the non-contact injury or whatever, like he had a bit of discomfort. Okay, yeah, maybe that's related, maybe that's not related to stuff, but come on, like everything is there, like it's like everything just builds up to eventually achieve what happened. Something there was a premonition there. Okay, like just take Gavi off. Honestly, forget about the rivalry of Barcelona, Real Madrid, or whatever it is. Like this is just pure common sense. Like this is from the human perspective of it. Just take the man off. Like what else do what else do you need to see? It's a game that has no value for you, that has no value for your team. Take the man off. What else? And when you're resting 9 players and the one you decide to continue playing is Gavi, that's actually, the mind blowing thing, that's the mind blowing thing. Let's not forget, Pedri. Let's not forget Dani Olmo after that as well. So it's like it's it's now becoming, what England used to do to their youngsters in the past, when we had like the likes of Rooney, Jack Wilshere, Theo Walcott, all these guys will go and they will keep playing and playing till you just run them to the ground. Like, okay, like Rooney was the only one who was able to come out of that on skate, but even he came out skate, like he was just, a supremely talented footballer that, all that could not hold him down. But the list goes on. When you check all this, British players, like this is what England had done to all their players that, that they could not make it out of the teenage phase, or let's say, the when they're supposed to be in their prime, they're already, injury ridden, and what is not. It's quite sad, honestly, that this is just the way football has gone, and it's literally moved away from what at least the game I came to love, which was all about just enjoying that imperfection and what is not. Now it's just about the capitalist and the capitalism, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of people were mentioning that, but one thing to note is that this can be like we can still make this fixture list work, right? Only if managers put a cap on how many minutes each of these players can play. So let's say Gavi was not allowed to, because he hit a maximum cap of the amount of minutes that he could play. So if he was not legally allowed to play against the likes of those smaller teams, these international break managers, they would actually try to conserve their players a bit more and make sure they're ready for the Euros and the Copa Americas and whatnot. Especially because the thing with international managers is that they have a more fragile job. So if they have very few games to impress their fan base and whatnot, right? And they're bored. So they have to make sure that all of within the few games that they play, they have to win all of them. So that is the pressure, additional pressure that they have to play. So if we somehow manage to uh, convince them, hey, come on, like you have to follow these rules. You have to make sure each of these players are just handled responsibly. Then I feel like this could be a way forward because I don't see the fixture list getting smaller anytime soon. We have an expanded format for the Euros, for the qualifiers. We have an expanded format for the UCL also coming in. So the number of games are just going to keep increasing. That's just the way the sport is going. So the only way you can control these injuries is if you have bigger squads and if you have better selections.
I actually disagree with you in that sense. I think eventually, who who do you pay to watch when you watch football? Footballers. They are and will always be the main stakeholders in this. But until and unless they just say that okay, enough is enough, and they actually make a stand, then it's always going to be garbage, and then you're going to keep having players and coaches. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but like 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, Mikel Arteta actually made a very interesting and curious comment that the fact that people were talking about, like, Bukayo Saka had this record that he had played every single game or something like that. I don't know, whatever it was. But anyways, he had played like a lot of games consecutively. And the comment Arteta had to make was that, do you think players don't want to play? What made Cristiano and Messi great was the fact that they were able to play 70 matches a year. This was what he was saying. So it goes back to the point now that becomes that they're gonna keep pushing these players. And why I'm actually mentioning Arteta here is because like Arteta was a professional who was a captain of Arsenal as well. So like he's coming from having played the game at the highest level, and this is his take on the workload for players. That come on, they're not complaining like this is what they want to do. They're in a blessed position to be paid for playing a sport that they love and what is and what is not. You get the point. So this now becomes it goes back to your point about we have a lot of fixtures. Why do we have fixtures increase? Because there's more money in the sport. Sky Sport or BT Sport or ESPN or CBS, these guys are paying to watch these players play. So when you come with a limit to the cap of what this play, the cap limits for, or let's say the minute limit for what these players can pay, do you think CBS or ESPN or Sky Sports is going to be like, oh yeah, I want to pay to watch Nacho and Lucas Vasquez play in the Champions League?
Bro, in the
Definitely,
chat,
this is not the
in the
thing.
chat. But against
This
the
is
likes
this
of,
is
I hear you. Like, nobody's going to tune into that match. But in any case, if we are facing the likes of Gibraltar or Azerbaijan, it's better somehow manage their minutes and play some of the lesser known players so we can actually even those players have an opportunity. But I hear you, like players, especially the younger ones, they don't want to sit out of any international pictures. They're really proud of representing the country. So It's a hard one to pick.
It's not just Jacob. Actually, it's not just even the younger players, even the senior ones. Like this is something that matters to them because football is something very difficult. Today you play, tomorrow you don't play. You just don't know what really is gonna happen. Especially when you look at a team like, okay, maybe for Gavi, most likely he will keep playing whatever would have been. But like you look at for a team like Spain, with okay, yeah, they're not as stacked as they are before, but they have a lot of talents that you never can tell if you're gonna get another call up or not. So like for them, it doesn't matter if it's against Gibraltar, if it's against France or whatever. Like just a call up is a call up eventually. But the point I'm trying to make here is the fact that players are making much more money than ever before. Players are sitting on the bench and making as much as Zidane was making when he was a player.
Yeah.
So
Maybe more than that.
how exactly more than that while sitting on the bench. So the point now becomes is, if you're taking that money, of course there's going to be a repercussion. And how did the money increase? It increased with the number of games that's increasing as well. The expanded version of the World Cup, as you mentioned, next year the UCL is going to expand with 4 more games in the group stage. Normally it's 6, it's going to be 10 games now, and then we're going to talk about the 25 club World Cup thing as well. All this is more money to the club, which means more money to the players. Until and unless the players union, the FIFA Pro, stand up and say, okay, we don't want any more money because we don't want to play game anymore.
Yeah.
But I love the way you smile, because that's the thing. Like, Jacob, do you think someone is going to come and tell me, yo, Farouk, work 2 hours extra and I'll give you 200 euros more? Do you think I'm going to say, no, I don't want to work? Fucking hell, no, man. Give me the money and let's do it. I mean, eventually, anyways, I work. This is the thing. Because the point is, one way to look at it is that, okay, eventually these guys are going to go and train every day. So instead of training, we'll just play the match.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely, you're right. From the player's perspective, there's no incentive to actually play lesser games. It's just the clubs who have a stake saying that you shouldn't play enough games, so you prioritize our games more.
So that's the point. Like it's all about more money for every. That's why I said like it's just a game that has become a capitalist game. Like it's so sad because you look at it like this is bound to happen. COVID happened, and then we had the World Cup in Qatar happening, and then now players are falling because now you're feeling the after effect of, okay, people will say Haaland didn't go to Qatar or Gavi didn't go to Qatar and all that, but that's not the point. The point is that the fixtures were congested, in such a way that now we are feeling the strains. Now
Yep.
we are feeling this, people are having injury that are non-contact or whatever it is, and this is the thing, like those muscle strains and what is not. So it's really, really interesting, honestly, how this is going, because bro, have you forgotten, man? We used to watch players that we never missed any game, man. If Ramos missed a game, it was because he got a red card, man, not because he was injured, man.
Yep.
Bro, I mean, we were watching Kadiro. Okay, I mean, we know that Ozil wasn't, didn't have the, let's say, how do they call it, the stamina? Like Mourinho always removed him in the 60th, 78th minute, But like we watch those guys play week in, week out, year in, year out, no headache. But now, bro, everyone is down. Everyone is down. Everyone. It's really interesting, honestly. Like the money is just, as I said, it has become a capitalist game where, like, people have just become robots and like, okay, we need to play the games, just go do it and come back, So like a stop has to be put. And as I said again, players are the main stakeholders. Players are and remain the main stakeholders until and unless they actually stand the ground and say, no, fuck this shit, we ain't doing that no more. These people will keep expanding the games. Obviously, like we are talking about millions, even tens of billions of of euros or dollars here. So I can understand, like, this is generational wealth. You get this money, like you and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren never have to work again. This is generational wealth. We can understand this. But also, when players want to criticize the fact that this is happening, they also take a look in the mirror and see as well. We as fans, obviously, we are oriented to see this. But then again, we as fans we also want to see more games. So it's just a double-edged sword eventually. Honestly, it's a double-edged sword. But maybe one of the things you talked about, maybe not a cap for playing minutes, but rather a cap for people who are under a certain age. For example, you can see anyone who is under 23 cannot play more than these minutes. Because if you look curiously in the list you have given, you look at Haaland under 23, you look at Gavi under 23, you look at Camavinga under 23, you look at Vinicius 23. You look at the list. I think Tchouaméni is 24. You look at Arda Güler is 18. Like the list goes on and on and on. Like maybe that might be because like you're thinking that okay, like these are not fully developed footballers yet. They are
Right? Their
still
bodies are
basically on the
changing. Some of them are even growing heights and whatnot.
exactly. So like they're still in that changing phase. Maybe that for that reason you can put a cap to say okay, maybe on the 23, maybe on the 20 or whatever it is. Like put a cap to that number. But I think putting the cap to number of minutes eventually, I don't think that's the way forward because as I mentioned earlier, like with respect to Nacho and Lucas Vasquez, but I'm not gonna go to pay and watch them in the Champions League, man. That's just not gonna work.
Absolutely. Yeah, the only people that I've actually seen that are very vocal against it is like obviously the club managers sometimes they say the fixture list is too hard and whatnot. And maybe some mature players like Cruz, maybe even only Cruz. Like literally the only player that I've seen that has criticized the number of games.
That's the thing, like I mean, even with people like okay, like Cruz is at the end of his career, so like what's gonna happen, and yeah, like he doesn't give a shit or whatever it is, fine and good and all that. But the point is, talking the talk is not enough, man. You need to, as I mentioned, like you need to put your mouth you need to put your money where your mouth is, man. Go
Exactly.
there to the table and say, okay, yeah, I'm negotiating a new contract, but this is a contract that's not gonna exceed 50 games a year. That's just it. So that's the thing, like okay, I'm not taking improved contract, I'm not increasing my money, pay me the same as you've been paying me before. I don't want to increase in salary, but I'm playing 50 games a year. Done. Dusted. Okay, but that's the thing, like again, as we say, like which is what also all players say is that they want to play more, they want to play more, and they want to play more, and they want to play more. So this is the thing, honestly, like the game is been roboticized, and it's been yeah, it's just a game of robots and capitalists, man. Like whoever has the much money wins, man. That's just it, unfortunately.
Yep. I don't think we'll see any change in this. Let's just, hope in the future some of us we are able
Nah.
to do some kind of black magic and avoid some of these injuries. There's no other way we are avoid these injuries. Yeah, but
Yeah, man.
before we get into the rest of the episode, let's go through some comments. We actually have some vibrant conversation going on. So Ashik is the first one. He says, spare parts time, play with spare parts." I guess. He alludes to the fact that we're not going to do any rotation. We might do some rotations, but it's just going to be spare parts in the smaller games, and hopefully that'll actually happen. And Marcus Winningham brings up a next interesting point. He says, "I don't think it's a great idea to sign Timo Werner at January since Vinicius will be returning, and as of now, we can manage with Rodrigo, Joselu, Brahim, Jude alongside Mario Martin in our attack." Man, like did you catch this rumor with Timo Werner coming to Real Madrid?
Nah, man, I didn't catch that, but then because I don't exist in the social spaces, so most likely
I
that's the
do
reason why I
exist, but
didn't.
I go to Twitter almost every day, but I haven't seen this one, and it would be a crazy one. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think he can actually do a better job than Joselu, putting the ball in the back of the net?
I mean, that's everything. That's all. Timo Werner can do everything except for put the ball in the back of the net. So that's the point. I mean,
So,
that
man,
I think Timo is a very good player. Like, but I just think he's not a player that you should rely on for goals. Like, okay, he's someone who's going to give you 10, 15 goals, but like he shouldn't be your primary source of goal. So
a-
he's a no-no for me.
and the thing is, Perez already came out and said, "Man, we won't sign anyone in January. We're totally happy with our squad. Everything is perfect. He has totally confidence in Ancelotti. The squad is deep and whatnot."
Yeah, I mean, I actually do not see that happening as well. Like, I honestly, I don't think I don't see a striker joining us in general, honestly, unless it's something phenomenal that just happened. But I don't expect a striker, especially like someone like Timo. Come on, man. I don't think that. I don't think so, man.
Yeah. Highly unlikely. So Madrid TV says Joselu as our main striker for 2 months. We are totally fucked. But
Nothing new, man.
if you ask the likes of Ashik, he's always optimistic. He knows Joselu might pull off a hat trick in an off game.
A man can dream, bro. A man can dream. But I mean, honestly, like the thing is that with Jose, like again, okay, he shouldn't be your starting striker. Everyone agrees with that. But the point is, this is what we have right now, and we've always dreaded that situation since the beginning of the season. If one of our players is out, or what happens, or what doesn't happen. But yeah, it is. I will focus more on I think maybe we're going to discuss that later, but I will focus more on Rodrigo than Jose actually. Well, anyways, yeah, let's just move on, man.
Yeah. And Prince Arthur says making money, but playing more too. Players are playing 65 games a season. The problem is also the coaches. They don't load manage the players. They overload the regular players and ignore the bench. Again,
I
like,
mean, that's yeah. Go on, Jacob.
yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna reiterate what you said, Farooq. This is just gonna happen. This is the reality of the game. We want our best players to play almost in every match, make sure that we win those games. And the fact of the matter is, this is not going anytime soon. We're still gonna see it happen over and over again.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
the only difference between before and now, I feel like we haven't had a huge increase in the number of games compared to like 5 years ago. The only difference is we now have way more of a younger squad for every single team. We're seeing 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds play regularly for top clubs. So I guess that's the
yeah,
difference.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's very true. But I just want to go to Prince's comment about the fact it's that whether we like it or not, actually, the depth, the depth and quality in football has dropped a lot, bro. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but one thing you can see now is that a lot of coaches rely on 15, 16 players, and that's it. you know, at Real, we know what Carlo does. He has like a group of 14, 15 players, and everyone else is just an afterthought of what is and what is not.
Mhm.
We go to the EPL and you look at Pep. Like Pep has I think the teenage squad in the Premier League right now. He has, I think, also like 15, 16 core players. You look at Arsenal. Arsenal has similar numbers. You look at Klopp, and Klopp, you look at his first 11. Outside of that, maybe he has two players on the bench. So that's the thing. Like, which team has that depth? Which team has the depth, to swap in to remove these and play that? Because the point is, football now is being played with. There is no longer freedom of the past of the Dinos and the Zidanes. Even the eras of even the Mesut Ozil. Like although Ozil is seems very recent, but even the era of the likes of Mesut Ozil is gone, man. Like now it's just full of automations and the tactical rigidity. So like you just need the best of the best. If the personnel are really important. One drop in for example, I will give you an example. You remove Carvalho and play Lucas Vasquez. Like the drop there is so huge, man. The drop is significantly huge. So if you're playing in a system that is very, a very rigid system, when you make that kind of swap, it makes you fall. Like I mean, example is Liverpool and Van Dijk. Van Dijk got injured and Liverpool became shambolic. Man, Van Dijk is not yet back to himself, his whole self, and they still also cannot regain, what they were before. So that's the thing. Like when you're playing this rigid system football, like you need people at the very top level of the game. But right now they don't exist anymore. That's just the problem. The number of qualitative players you have really are so less. I mean, I don't know, but at least the players I used to watch in the past come off the bench were like, much more impactful than what we have right now, honestly, at least across the game. But that's just the thing. Like the level of the quality has also dropped, and this tactical inflexibility also has increased the amount of reliance on certain players also.
Absolutely. Apart from the likes of Barcelona, we're not really seeing a lot of core youth team players also being incorporated every now and then. Because before that used to be a thing, we used to watch out for that. Even at Real Madrid, we used to watch out for that, before Carlo at least. But even Zidane really didn't give the youngsters much minutes, right? But before that, I
Yeah,
remember like we used to see a lot of Morata, Hesse, and whatnot.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Right. I guess let's just move on, man. Like we're just beating a dead horse at this point. Hopefully, some of the players do speak out and come to a solution with how these games can be managed.
This is all about the money, my friend. No one's gonna speak jack shit, bro. They're gonna die, and they just don't think they play.
Ah, Farooq with the money again. Yeah. Okay. Let's touch upon the Femenino as well with Real Madrid. They're not doing too great either for so I'm not sure if you caught the news of the Clasico. We took an absolute battering, like usual with the women's team. I actually caught a bit of it while I was watching the Cricket World Cup. Things weren't pretty. I just tuned off. But then right after I tuned off, I saw Naomi Feller getting tackled by the goalkeeper and getting injured. So she's out with a knee injury long term. And in addition, the likes of Sandy Toletti, Linda Caicedo, Caroline Weir, and Carla
Yeah,
Camacho. All of them probably starters and super subs. Some of them, all of them injured, and things aren't looking great. Especially when we wanted to improve from the result of last season, and this is not looking good. Especially when you go face up bigger teams, you actually needed the likes of at least Naomi Feller because she was the one who had the physicality and the pace to actually face up against these bigger teams. I feel like we still can put up a fight against the smaller La Liga sides, but the UCL is gone, the cup is gone as well, for sure.
Yeah, man, injuries are really, really bad, and especially like I think I came across the news that like Carla Ware was injured. I think also she has an ACL or something like that. She
Hmm.
also had a really bad
She's out for
injury.
the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly, and she was a really, really important piece, and also the youngster from Colombia as well, Caicedo was really a really, really promising youngster. I think she just won the Golden Girl Award as well, alongside Jude Bellingham. So, yeah, man, it's a loss. It's a loss, but that's the thing, man. Like again, it just goes back to all of this management issues. Even in the female football, we can see it, and even for the female football, it's even more pronounced due to the mismanagement, or rather the lack of management that goes on there. But anyways, man, it's just unfortunate.
Absolutely. Well, let's go into the nitty-gritty and look at our injury timelines. Time to face reality. Uh, the good news is we do have some players coming back. So the likes of Danny Ceballos, he already started training on the grass. Bellingham starts is always still training on the grass. We might even see them feature against Cadiz because we're so light in the squad. We actually have to play some of them to actually get a win. Then there's the likes of Arda Güler, who might miss the whole of November, but he might be probably be back in December. But we'll have to see how many minutes he gets and how much trust Ancelotti has on him. Well, you know
Yeah,
what? I actually
that's.
missed another player too. Kepa is probably going to be back at the end of the month. So we're just going to maybe see two more games of Lunenburg.
I think that's quite interesting. Actually, one I'm looking out for on this list is actually Daniel Ceballos, because I think the midfield is one of the places that is actually looking very, very shabby right now. Honestly, because of the absence of Edu Camavinga and Aurelien Tchouameni, it's going to be a huge miss. But I think if we can have a player like Ceballos, what I've always believed offered a very, very different skill set to all of the midfielders we have in the squad. I do believe that his return might just be able to paper over some cracks, because if I'm not mistaken, we don't have anything too serious in the next 2 months. So I do believe we should be able to manage through, and I believe people like Ceballos should be able to get some things done.
Yeah. Then, moving on, we have the longer term injuries. The first person who's going to be back is Tchouameni. He's probably going to be back in early January. And did you actually see his tweet? He said that if someone asks me to play, I will actually go out and play even with this foot. It's not that big of a deal. It's just that these fractures, they take longer to heal, but he can actually kick the ball and whatnot. So,
Yeah,
some
that's
just something optimistic to look for.
yeah, that's the thing. Like it's always about, as you say, like when you're kicking the ball around with your friends, even if you have this fracture, which I think is what he's trying to point around to, is I mean it's something we can just keep playing, but at the highest level, that 1-2% is usually the difference between a top level footballer and the good footballers, honestly. So it's in professional sport, just that 1%, even half a percent, really really makes a difference. So, and as you said, it's a fracture, and they're really very slow to heal. So it's just better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly. And moving on to the more depressing injuries, the latest ones. So the one to Vinicius, the ones to Vinicius and Camavinga. Vinicius, he got an injury to his other leg. So first he got a thigh injury to his right leg. I guess maybe that's something. Uh, with these muscle injuries, you try to compensate with your other leg to correct your movement and whatnot. So he probably it's an effect of that, and with playing so many minutes over the past month. So he got injured. He's out for 8 to 10 weeks. So we can expect him to be back maybe towards the beginning of February or maybe even mid-February. But the fact is, he's still going to take a long time to get going, as we saw in the last month. He really struggled in the first early games when he was back from injury.
Yeah, man, that's really something, that's really sad. Like Camavinga finally was getting back into the group, because I remember like the first two games of the season, I actually was a bit, critical of his performances as well, saying that we expected more, but he finally got into the groove, and he was proven to be arguably the best player, in the team, and unfortunately, this has happened again. Yeah, as we talked about earlier, the course of the international break, and the compilation of fixtures and what is not. Hopefully, man. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm just hoping he can come back towards the end of Jan, and pick up a bit of match fitness towards Feb, and hopefully when the knockouts come around in the middle of Feb, like he's back to, okay, hopefully not to the peak, but at least we can have his talents to call upon, even if it's just from the bench or something. But I think Kamavinga is really, really crucial to whatever success we're gonna achieve this season. So I really, really do hope that, hopefully, come the time that the big boys start coming to town, I hope that Kamavinga will be fit in some form.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know the reason why we fans are so bitter about these two injuries, because obviously, like, these are our starters, they are our more important players. But it was the fact that we actually looked decent before heading into the international break, and these guys were really clicking into gear. Camavinga was finding his form over at the defensive midfield alongside Cruz. He was solidifying his starting position over at France as well. Vinicius as well, with the injury to Neymar, he was the shoe-in starter for Brazil. He was turning it on with Martinelli playing actual good ball with Rodrigo as well. So this just leaves such a bitter taste in my mouth, the timing of the injuries.
Yeah, that's the thing, honestly, the Vini one also is really, really painful as well, honestly, because now, like, Vini was our guy, he was the X factor that we have, and now all of a sudden he's out of the team. And yeah, he was someone that was finally getting back into full form, again. Against Valencia, we saw, what he could do in the game before that. It was, perfect in the Champions League against Braha as well. So that's the thing. Like, it's really, really sad. And now that's why I mentioned earlier that I think, for me personally, rather than focusing on Joselu, I would be more worried about what Rodrigo can or cannot be, because I think, rather than the success or lack thereof of Joselu, I think the success of Rodrigo will be much more, of greater significance to what our team is. Because I mean, the thing is, we've always said this, as you guys would, said always in the post match, what Joselu is, what you expect from him, like, he's a box that we know. But like with Rodrigo, like the limitations are just endless. Like, it's something that, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but anyways, like, the boundary there, the boundary doesn't even exist yet. We don't know what the boundary is with Rodrigo. So that's the thing. Like, there's gonna be a lot of expectations there. So yeah, man, I felt even worse when I saw the Vini thing, because as I told you the other time, like, for Vini it's more of a sentimental thing, because we saw this is someone like, I mean, okay, Cristiano came to us, but Cristiano came to us as a finished product. It's not like I watched Raul coming through the academy or something or anything. But like, Vini is someone that you can actually see through his story, and all the frustrations and the joy and the excitement and the cursing, and it was just a mixed bags of emotion, and all of a sudden he became what he became. So now, seeing again him going back to being out of the game for, I think he's also out for 10 weeks as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, probably longer than Camavinga, I would say.
So that's the thing, like, the chance of him even being ready for the round of 16, it's almost impossible. Again, it's just going to be, hoping for him to come off the bench, or unless, some miracle recovery happens or something like that. I don't know, man. It's just really sad, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. You were alluding to the fact that the round of 16 is going to come up later on towards February and whatnot. But a lot of people were saying we have some easier fixtures throughout the next couple of months. But I don't really think it's going to be that straightforward. It's not going to be just those minnows, the likes of Cadiz and whatnot. We actually have some tougher games coming up as well in these few months, and it'll all depend on how Ancelotti prepares for these few matches. So let's just take a look at some of the fixtures. So obviously we're nearing the end of November. We are going away to Cadiz, and then finally the big game is that we are hosting Napoli over at the Bernabeu. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I thought I maybe I interrupted you.
oh no, man, go ahead. I feel like you're about to say the fact that we already qualified. It's probably a dead rubber game.
Exactly, that's the thing. I've always said it. Like Napoli this season is absolutely horseshit, and it's just proof that this. I felt like I listened to you guys' preview with was it Prince? The guy was Prince, right? I think.
Yeah,
Right.
Salah.
I mean, I feel like you guys, were just trying to, I don't know, take care and not hurt his feelings or anything. But like Napoli is horseshit this season, man. Come on, like anyone who's seen Napoli knows that. Like, I mean, yeah, there is flashes of brilliance here and there, but like Napoli is horseshit this season. Like it's just so sad to actually even watch them because you could see the levels that they had been last year, and what is not, and like they just even sacked their Rudy Garcia, and like they're gonna bring back what's the name of the guy I forgot. Anyways, they're gonna bring back one of their old coaches as well. So yeah, that's just the thing. Like it's there is nothing to to be worried about with Naples. Honestly, I'm not too worried about that. And again, as you just said, it's we already qualified, so it's basically a dodge rubber game. Whatever happens should happen. So it's not a game that should give a lot of headache, in my opinion.
The thing with Napoli is that when we faced them, we weren't looking too hot. We were finding it really difficult to score. We didn't know where the goals were coming from. Carvajal was still looking a bit shaky at that point in the season. He was still one of our best players going forward, but he was still looking a bit shaky at the back. But now I feel without the injuries, we're finally hitting some form, and we're back to the same. Now we got to figure out where we're going to score again. It's going to be tough now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, about the point you made, I cannot disagree or argue with that. That's just the thing, like, the fluency of the team is gone. When you remove, such players in the team, the fluency of the team is gone, definitely. So you have to find a way to build a fluency that it wasn't that it was even existing before, Jacob. That's the thing, like, let's not
Mm.
come here and pretend like we were playing fantastic, 20, 2011, 2012 football, or like, the Zidane 16, 17 kind of football. No, we weren't doing that. Obviously, we were just scrapping through, and like one thing you could see, like there was gradual improvement in the games. That's one thing that we cannot deny. There have been
Yep.
gradual in the game of the players, and we could see that they're starting to understand each other better and better. So that fluency for now is gone. Like it's something that has to be, rebuilt, and it has to be refound. How will that be done again? I think that's why you're worried, and that's why I also share your worry as well. Is that it's definitely now we have to see how Carlo Ancelotti, prepares. Well, I will not choose the word prepare. I'll just say let's see the 11 that he puts out on the pitch and how they prepare themselves eventually.
Are you saying that Carlo Ancelotti does not prepare for games?
I didn't say anything. I just said he puts out 11 on the pitch. You do what? You should interpret that how you will.
Well, yeah, we know what you meant, but the long-term listeners of the pod and me, we know. But heading towards December, we actually have some of our players back. Bellingham is for sure back in fitness. Ceballos will be back. Kepa will be back. Arda Güler will be back as well, but I don't think he's probably going to be a big factor in December. Let's see how Carlo Ancelotti takes it. But in December, if you look at the list, they face Granada at home, Betis away. That's going to be a big match. Union Berlin away. It's going
Yep.
to be easy. Probably a time for more of our Castilla players to feature in. Then we have Villarreal as well towards the end, finally out of us. So the Villarreal game and the Betis game. Betis haven't really been on form this season, but Villarreal have looked scary at some times. They do have their injury concerns as well, and they're not that consistent as last season. But we still, have to face, especially when they play against us, we can always expect a really good match.
Yeah, fucking Villarreal, man. Like, even if they play in the 10th division, man, I will always be worried about them, man. Like, they're fucking, I don't know, man. They just have, this thing that they just, switch whenever they come to play against us. Because it doesn't matter. Even if you score four against Villarreal, you should know that that four, you've scored it with every single blood and sweat that, you have. Especially when they play us, honestly, it's really, really, really difficult to play Villarreal. So I will totally give you that. And the game against Betis as well, like, whenever you play against a Manu Pellegrini team, like it's always difficult. And I think Isco also has been on fire this season as well. So it's gonna be quite interesting, especially when you're going to Seville to play them. It's quite it's gonna be really, really dangerous, honestly. Well, yeah, I mean, again, like these are fixtures that shouldn't, I believe, the return of Jude, having Rodrigo, Kroos and Modric, Dani Carvajal, like these are games that, we should be able to handle. It might not be as straightforward as it might have been, with certain players being fit, but I think what we have right now should not, it should, this fixture shouldn't prove too much of a burden for them. And it's fine, the thing is that even if we drop points against Betis or Villarreal, like it's fine. Like these are top teams. Like I mean, we've always dropped points against Villarreal, so like dropping points against Villarreal isn't, I think, isn't the end of the world. And even against Betis, because you're going to Betis' home, obviously you want to win, but dropping points against Betis as well is not the end of the world. Like these are the these are the big teams in the league. I mean, Betis finished fifth last year. They
Farooq,
were just about to qualify for the UCL.
tell that to 99% of the Real Madrid fans, man. I feel like even if we lose against Barcelona, it's probably the end of the world for most fans. That's just the amount of pressure we have. Like, we just can't afford to
I mean,
lose.
that's the thing. Like, I mean, the point is this: like, you cannot win every game in the season. So when you sit down and you're mapping out like we're doing right now, we're just assuming that okay, I'm gonna win against Alaves. I'm gonna win against Union Berlin. We're just mapping out these games. So we are mapping out that okay, like the point is at least I don't know all my years of watching Real Madrid against Villarreal, there's always difficult matches. It has always been difficult matches. Even if we win, it's a difficult victory. So that's why I'm saying like, okay, yeah, dropping points, it's just what is historical there. It's not something that, it's not an outrageous thing or, it's not the end of the world for that. And the interesting thing is this, more importantly, Jacob, is that nobody wins shit in December, bro.
Yeah.
Nobody wins shit in December.
But
So,
games are, I mean, leagues are lost in December though, even if you don't win
bro, if you lose a league in December, then you were never in to win it at all, bro. You lose a league. I know that because I've experienced this a lot of time. We've lost leagues in Feb, but you lose a league in December, bro. I mean, don't even come back, man. Just stay home for the new year and continue doing your shit, man.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've got to agree. I feel like these games, even though we might drop a couple of points in December or November, it's still fine. We can still catch up because the real gist of the season is when we head into actually February. And because even January, if you look at the fixture list, we just face Atletico in the Super Cup. But if you look at our league fixtures, we just face Las Palmas, Almeria, and Mallorca, all easy wins. Like hopefully, the
Yeah,
only
man.
the only banana peel I feel is Getafe. We're gonna be facing them against them at their home. It's gonna be a tough one to watch.
Oh, border last, man. Border last. Anyways, man. I mean, I actually have come to, like, I got so frustrated with Baudelaire that I actually came to appreciate what he's doing because the point is, the ability to consistently, do this, it's not easy, man. Honestly, it means that you have created a system, your players have brought into that system. You guys are just going in one direction and they believe in what you're doing. But yeah, credit to him. But man, honestly, that's like absolutely garbage, man.
Absolutely garbage, man. But yeah, how do you feel about the Super Copa? Do you feel like we'll take it seriously? Do you think we'll face up against Barcelona again in the final?
It's in Riyadh, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Fucking hell, bro. Fucking hell. See what I'm talking about, right? So now it's gonna be like you have to go to fucking Riyadh to play a Super Cup, and then you're gonna come back to Spain again and play La Liga the next weekend. I don't know, man. Like these are the things that we talk about injuries and this and that. Like these are things that are unnecessary.
Yeah. Do you
And
remember
why?
the nice times when we had Super Copa at the beginning of the season when we just had those to
Yes.
get into form? This is absolute garbage, man. Like I can't believe this has become the norm.
So this is the thing. Why is this happening, Jacob? Again, capitalism, man. Capitalism, man. Money, bro. This is the
Fucking
only reason why this
Americans.
is
Fucking
happening.
Americans brought us on the rest of the world.
America is catching stray when it's nothing that even concerns them, but they're still catching strays. That's the thing, Jacob, because we talk about the fact that okay, we want to reduce this, we want to do that, but like you're traveling from okay, yeah, maybe Spain to Saudi Arabia is not that far or anything, but why do we have to make that travel in the first place?
Yeah,
Just play your fight,
I wouldn't
just play home
worry
and
too
get
much
first
if
and
it
second
was.
done.
Yeah, today I wouldn't worry about it too much if it was at the beginning of the season. Like we actually need those games to get back into form or fitness. But this just does not make sense at all.
But anyways, to answer your question, man, I do think we will take it serious because the point is, it's always about when you play against Atletico Madrid or Barcelona, it's always a game of pride, a game that, whether there is no friendly, honestly, especially after the advent of Diego Simeone, there is no such thing as friendly, when you play Atletico Madrid and similarly Barcelona as also, it's just, again, the pride for the city as well. Yeah, obviously, like, we do not understand what it means for the people of the city, but, this is just, what it is. Like it's for Real Madrid and for Atletico Madrid, like it's just for the pride. You go back to work the next year, you bribe to your friend and this and that and all this. So I think we will play the best 11 we have in that game, honestly. So I do think like we need to win it, honestly.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, but if you ask for my own personal opinion, fuck shit, man. Just send Castilla to that and let them play. Like, let it be middle finger to the, to the
Mm.
federation. Send Castilla 11, let them play against Atletico and let Atletico trash them 12-0 and come back and celebrate. Because I know Atletico, they're shameless people, They will celebrate that, so it's fine. They can.
No, it ain't gonna happen, Farooq. As much as I want to
But
see it. I wouldn't even mind losing
definitely,
12-0. I would totally take that if it was just Castilla.
I definitely. It's not gonna happen, man. But yeah, we know. I'm just saying, like, this is something that can be done, to as like a middle finger to the federation and be like, yeah, we don't want to do this. But I mean, Real Madrid is getting their cash, their cool cash, and the players are also being paid from that. So yeah, why not?
Yeah. Before we head into the February fixtures, the real gist of the season, I'll read out a couple of comments. So Ashik says, Villarreal's nickname is Yellow Submarine. Keyword here is submarine, and we know what they do by nature. They are always underwater. So he was alluding to the fact that Villarreal have had a shocking start to the season, but when they actually do face us, they can actually fire some torpedoes against us, against our leaky defense.
Yeah, as I said, like honestly, Villarreal doesn't matter how good or bad they are. Like it's always been a very, very daunting fixture. So I would, be worried about that, honestly.
Yeah, and Mo Chelsea is here. Big up you, Mo Chelsea. He says Arda Güler is next hazard for you guys. The kid getting injured in training.
Nah, man. Hazard was an anomaly, man. Hazard was an anomaly. That's not happening, man. I mean, come on. I mean, the kid is still very young, so like there's still a lot of time to build up some muscle, and that's a good thing, because like for Hazard, it was an issue about the fact that Hazard was 30 when he joined us, and he had the first major injury of his career. He basically was in England when they kicked him and nothing happened to him and he came to Spain and all of a sudden, he could not get his stuff back. But I think the good thing about Arda is unless if there is something that we don't know is that he's young and he's growing, So because of that, I think like he's gonna heal and be able to get past this muscular injuries.
Exactly. I have total confidence in Arda coming back, because it's just these muscle injuries come together. You compensate for it with some other body part, and that gets overworked and injured. But once you get past all of this, I feel like you come back as a stronger man.
Totally agree, bro. Totally.
Yeah, and Ashik says Jan 10th is the Madrid derby, and we are winning it 4-0. Joselu will finally get his hat trick in that match day.
Yeah. Signore Ashik, you will get your jersey hopefully after that happens. But it will not happen, Signore. So calm down. As they say in Italian, tranquillo. Actually, I'm starting to learn a bit some Italians, just for the SAS.
Oh, what else do you know? How do you say I love you or nice tips?
What the fuck, bro? It's PG-13, man. PG-13.
We're not PG-13, we're not age restricted. And I know, Farooq, that you already know it. That's why you're delaying it. But anyways, let's move on. So if you look at the fixtures for February, we'll have the round of 16. That's gonna be shoot in there as well. But it's probably our hardest stretch in La Liga ever for the season because we're facing Atletico at home, Girona at home, and then we face Rayo away and Sevilla at home again. All difficult fixtures, man. And Rayo away is not going to be easy either. I initially I thought maybe we already faced Rayo. They didn't really look up to it, but Rayo away is something else.
Bro, it's looking a very, very, because even Rayo always is it's a Madrid derby as also, that's also quite an interesting game to play, so the emotions and all these things, like it's gonna be quite interesting. But man, the list you just mentioned, man, it's quite daunting, man. Although like they're all home fixtures, you mentioned Atletico, you mentioned Girona, and you mentioned Sevilla, and then plug in the round of 16 fixture as well. That's a really, really daunting month, man. Honestly, I really do hope that at least you know when is Chouameni's return?
Tchouaméni is probably going to be coming back for the Super Copa, so we're probably going to have him back to full fitness. Touch wood, over in February. So he's going to be good. and we're likely to see both Vinicius and Camavinga in training as well. Not sure if they're going to be facing against Girona or Atleti, but probably against Rayo and Sevilla, they're going to be back.
Severe, right?
The question is, are they going to be in form, to actually face these guys?
Because if I'm not mistaken, the Champions League usually comes between the game between Girona and Rayo. So I think that's the interesting thing there, because it's usually mid of Feb, like 13th, 14th, and then the other week after that. So it's either gonna be between Girona and Rayo or Rayo and Sevilla. So those are two things. I really do hope we get the second one, which is gonna be between Rayo and Sevilla. So at least
Mm.
that way we know that both Vini and Kama will most likely be at least to a certain level, be match fit and at least have gotten some minutes in their boots as well. So, yeah, but Chouameni is going to come back, so that's a bit of relief. But the point is, it doesn't really matter, Jacob. Like the fixture list you just announced right now, like even if we had a fit and firing squad, like it's a very, very daunting month, you know, a very, very daunting month, honestly. But if there is anything I've always seen with Real Madrid is that, when we have this fixtures that look crazy and impossible to win, that's just when we go on a streak and we go out of the month without losing any of the fixtures. So this is something, but yeah, it's something that on paper, honestly, like even the most arrogant of Real Madrid fans, will be worried about, and I really do hope because the thing is that when you come to months like February, these are the times that a bad patch in form is really bad
Yeah,
because now
like you
leagues
said,
are lost
games
in February,
are like leagues are,
right?
yeah, exactly. Leagues are won and lost in February and March or January even.
These are the times that actually you can finish this month and you can just feel like, okay, yeah, shit is hit the fan, man, like there is no way out. So this is why this is a very, very critical and important month. Hopefully, our boys can be able to navigate through it. But I do think, like, if we can get our squad, to at least have a bit of full fitness, I do think, it's going to be quite interesting, in these games to be able to see how we can, interchange personnels and see what is and what is not. I do believe the game against Girona might be quite crucial because Girona is looking like they are, slowing down right now. So it might be a battle straight for, for the top of the league. No, we don't know yet, but at least right now this is what it's looking like. So it should be quite interesting. And yeah, bro. Honestly, just I really do hope Vini is back, bro. I really, really do hope Vini because I just don't see anything happening without Vini, man. I don't know, maybe because yeah, okay, people are still. I know people always say like this is Jude's team and what is not, but for me, I just still feel like this is in my eyes. For me, it's still like uh Vini's team. I just feel like Vini is, you know, our savior or our doom as well. I think if we can get Vini back and fit and firing, I do believe we have a chance. I don't know how it's gonna look, but yeah, man, fingers crossed, bro. Fingers crossed.
Anyways, I feel like we missed out on a couple of players. So Militao, he's probably going to be back towards the end of February, if I'm not mistaken. He's probably going to start training, and then towards March we can expect him towards fitness. Do you think he can actually have a good end of the season, or is it just going to be playing in the odd game? Do you feel like Rudiger has, really solidified himself as in that position, or maybe Alaba loses out as a starting 11 player?
Yeah, but that's the thing, the good thing about, Militao coming back is that he's not going to come back and fight for the first, for the starting spot because someone who is coming back from an injury this severe is not going to just come back and directly, go into the first 11. So if he comes back in March or mid of March, like he's just going to, be that rotation player that's just trying to, build his fitness, gradually ease his way back into the team. So he's not going to be like, I don't know how he's gonna come back, honestly, but at least what we know, what history tells us, that someone who's coming back from an ace is not gonna be someone who's directly challenging for a starting spot, at least not aggressively. He's gonna be there training with them and everything, but like, he's not gonna be aggressively challenging for a starting spot. So I think at least not until April, depending on what happens come what may. Obviously, yeah, if you're still competing come April May, then yeah, you feel like yeah, okay, Militao then is going to be in the equation, and you want to put him into situations, especially if we get into semi-finals against the top guns in Europe as well. So you want to feel like okay, Militao should play in the league, and then you want to play with the guys you've been playing with in the UCL, or depending on the form of Alaba, what is not. You feel like okay, yeah, we can put this there or that there. But the point is, if the season is already over, then like you just don't feel like there is no point in putting Militao into this because already again, it's. I think there's although there is no Copa this summer, but there is no Copa this summer, right? Or is there?
No,
There isn't, right? Yeah. So they just
no.
have the Euro. So at least he will have some rest and what is and what is not. So, yeah, man. I mean, I just don't see. right now I can see Militao being someone who is going to compete for a starting spot this season. So I think he's just going to come back and he's just going to be one of the boys who's just trying to get in and get out a rotational pace and nothing more than that.
Absolutely. I feel like it also depends on if Alaba can actually turn around his a bit form for the bigger games. Because otherwise, we might, actually see Militao trying to get showed in for those bigger games, especially if you have to face against like Haaland and whatnot.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's true. It's going to be quite interesting. But the thing again, this is the thing, right? So, do you want to come to a Champions League quarterfinal and want to play Militao, who is returning from ACL against Erling Haaland? This is the question.
Oh boy,
Basically,
I actually don't want to face Man City at all in the quarterfinal. Fuck that.
bro, Man City has become what Real Madrid used to be. But to win, you have to get through them. That's just the thing. Just look at all the winners, like all the past four winners. I think they've gone through Man City. That's just it.
Yeah.
You have to get through them. That's just the thing. Like Man City basically has become us. Like to win, you either have to get to Real Madrid or to get to City. Either of these two things. This is just the thing. So if we want to win, we have to get through them. If they want to win, they have to go through us. So you just have to make peace of this, bro. Like one or another, you're gonna just face City, bro.
Yeah. And yeah, before we head into our actual predicted lineups and what we can do to actually mitigate these set of injuries for the next 2 months, Mo Chelsea has a comment. So he says, "I just need you guys to knock out Arsenal in the Champions League. Don't use injuries as an excuse and sort out your recruitment team. Timo Werner is crap, just like Jose. Go by Mbappe or Haaland."
Man, he totally made a comment that suited his username, More Chelsea. He just shows the amount of disdain he has for Arsenal, and whatever happens, just kick Arsenal out, whatever the cost may be. Even if it means starting World War III between Spain and France and Qatar because you took Mbappe away or whatever it is. Like, really, you don't care. Just send Arsenal out. Yeah. Honestly, like Arsenal is one of the teams I'm actually worried about, if I would not lie, personally, because I actually have watched a lot of Arsenal, and although people are like they actually play different, I kind of feel people are like they're not as effective as they were last year, but I kind of feel like there's a bit of a difference to this Arsenal team, and the role of Declan Rice is really, 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 like he has come to the fore. And I think that's the other thing, like, we see with six in Europe, like, we saw even Caicedo moved for 100 million to Chelsea as well. We saw how Rodri was basically City's best player, in the important games last year. We have seen how Tchouaméni also, the role that Tchouaméni is playing for us as well. And, you can see this, across teams and all that. But as I said, like Arsenal is one of the teams actually that I am a bit worried about, honestly, when it comes to facing them in the knockout rounds. But hopefully they're going to be first. We're going to be first, so we don't have to face them yet. We have to face them sometime later in the tournament if we do face them at all. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be as easy as more Chelsea saying looking at Arsenal. It's going to be quite a daunting task, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't know about sorting out our recruitment team. And like, this is not FIFA. We're not Chelsea either. We're not gonna overpay 200, 250 million just to buy Mbappe in January.
I
Uh,
mean, that's the thing, man. Like, I mean, more Chelsea is used to seeing them, paying what's it called, the FBE. I don't know if you saw the Barbie movie. Like,
I did.
there's
Oh
Barbie.
yeah, I did. Yeah.
So, like, they paid 100 million for Ken from Barbie. Like Mudrik is basically what Ken is. They pay 100 million to buy Ken. We don't do that here, man. We don't pay $100 to buy a Barbie looking player, man. Like, nah. Definitely not. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, our team will not change much going into the round of 16. The only thing that will change is our injured players coming back to full fitness and rejoining the squad. But I don't think the new faces, it will take something monumental, honestly, something monumental.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that is a good segue into next segment of the podcast where we're actually looking at Castilla. It's almost a crime to mention Castilla when Carlo Ancelotti is active and our manager. But I feel like he has a fan style. You literally can't play the same three players up top for the entire 2 to 3 months, right? You need some players to actually take some minutes out of them. And this is exactly where Castilla comes in, especially since we are for sure not signing anyone in January. So if you just look at some of the candidates who can come in, so we heard it from multiple publications that Mario Martin is going to be a shoe-in for Camavinga. Nico Paz is going to come in and try to replace Vinicius. And Farooq, you've actually seen a bit of Nico Paz. Like, do you think he can actually do a job in some of these smaller games instead of Vinicius? Well, come on, Farooq. If you don't believe in Nico Paz, Ancelotti, of course, will not.
I don't know, man. Honestly, I really don't have any comments regarding the Castilla players, honestly, because the thing is, we've seen that unless basically there is nobody to play anything, no one is gonna play Castilla players. This is why when you said, like he's not gonna play the same two people up front for the whole of the 2 months, I kind of feel like, yeah, I mean, he's not gonna do that, but then he's not gonna play Castilla players as well.
How else? Like, okay, we literally have three forward players, right? Brahim, Joselu, and Rico. If you're not going to play all of them regularly, and who else is going to fill in for them?
I mean, the point is this: like, he can change his like, okay, so if Dani Ceballos comes back, you can have a midfield five and play one striker up top.
Modric is a stand or a striker? Fuck yeah.
No. So the thing is, like, you can have a midfield five, right?
Mm-hmm.
Modric, Kroos, Fede, what's he called? Bellingham, and then you play together with Dani Ceballos.
Yep.
This is a midfield five. So you play a 4-5-1. And then that number one is either Rodrigo or what's he called? Or Joselu. So I'm just trying to tell you that he's not gonna play those two guys for the whole 2 months. He's gonna play something different, alternatives. He's gonna play a different system. The diamond is still gonna stay because even a 4-5-1 is basically a diamond, The diamond is still gonna stay, but he's gonna have a different alteration of the diamond. So I don't want to be like, the harbinger of death or whatever it is, but I just feel like Castilla players 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but someone having a very impactful stretch, unless something phenomenal happens, I just don't see it happening, because then we had with Alvaro Rodriguez happening last year, the equalizer against Atletico, we thought it was going to be the beginning of something, and then all of a sudden, yeah, like they told us what was the excuse. Raul is chasing promotion with Castilla, hence the Castilla players are not playing anymore, So that's the thing, like there's always going to be something that, they used to justify what it is or what it is not, but I don't know if it is what it is, but
I mean,
the point is just that we've seen.
Farooq, like, I feel like that's a big difference from last season. So last season we actually had some options. We had some French players sitting, warming our bench, not playing, and then Castilla players were starting even above them. So this is not the situation we have. Even our midfield is like, how often do you think we can play a midfield five? Because all of our midfielders are active. We need subs to come on. I feel at the very least, I feel like
we still have two midfielders out, man. We still have Fran Garcia. Sorry, not Fran. What's he called? What's the name of the guy from Milan?
Brahim.
We still have Brahim Diaz and we still have Arthur Güler. 2 players more. These are 2 players who are outside of this whole 5 I mentioned.
For sure, like, yeah, Brahim Diaz is going to play, but you're going to have to take some minutes out of them, and I just don't see if you're not going to play Joselu also in every game. Like, Joselu is not the player that we want to start every single game as well. So if Brahim plays,
so you think you're not going to play Joselu in a big game and you're going to play Castilla play in a big game?
Not Castilla, man. I'm just saying we probably might see Brahim or the midfield five in some of these bigger games. And the fact of the matter is, you need some of these players. Kroos is going to get tired. Modric is going to get tired towards the 80th minute and whatnot. So we need some of these Castilla players at least to come off the bench. I feel like we're actually going to see it for once with Carlo Ancelotti's reign. This is my prediction. But you never know with that old man what he thinks. Maybe you know Father.
No. I mean, I agree with you. Like, we're gonna see players come off the bench. Like, that's not something that we can. Obviously, like when you don't have the bodies, like you're just gonna put the bodies there. And like when the game is going your way, or like when you feel like there's a bit of something different that can be gotten. Yeah, obviously, like the Nico Pazes can come on. Maybe even Alvaro Rodriguez can show his face again. I don't know. Like, what was the other guy you mentioned? The guy for Camavinga.
So Mario Martin is the CDM. He even plays at the back for Castilla sometimes when they are light in defense. So Nico Paz is actually an attacking midfielder, right? He plays in the same position that Fede plays. So which is why I am kind of skeptical about what Jose Luis Sanchez is like saying, because he is not a replacement for Vinicius. He's more of a replacement as an attacking midfielder, maybe even for Bellingham or Brahim. And for Vinicius, we actually have a decent Castilla player in the form of Gonzalo Garcia. So he's one of the second top scorer in Castilla right now. Even last season at UNLA, he was the top scorer. He actually scored 35 goals in 41 games. And he's an inside forward. He can actually play out on the wing as well. He can put a decent cross in, put some cutbacks in. He doesn't complicate the game too much. So I feel like he's something that these publications have missed and is more of a likely replacement for Vinicius than uh, what Nico Paz will be. Nico Paz, I feel like he is going to come in and then put in that more body in, for midfield that again for Camavinga or when Cruz needs a rest.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know jack shit about Casilla, so it will be very unfair of me to to lay a claim or to make a comment or what is or what is not. But one thing I would just say is that this is what the precedent that has been set. It shows us that okay, there's gonna be they're gonna bring people out from the hospital to play before they play Castilla players. People are literally gonna play on bandages and shit like that. So that's the thing. Like again, they will play 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but like, is it enough to have a significant impact? This is a question that we need to ask. And as you said, obviously, like this is not the same as last year, and I totally agree and give you credit for that. Last year we had players on the bench, the Diaz's, the Hazards, and so on and so forth, who were not, impacting the game, but they were there, making up the match day scores. But right now, because of the way bodies are falling like fly, we basically don't have those players, and obviously because of that, you need you need the bodies to fill in the positions. But how much of an impact do they have? How much of a chance do they get? I'm really really skeptical about that. But then again, I don't have any knowledge of them, so I wouldn't be the person to make a comment. But obviously, you know better, so we just have to wait, and only time will tell us. But honestly, I can think of different alternatives that Carlo, I'm sure, is also thinking of right now that doesn't involve Castilla players for the whole 2 months.
Yeah. Another name that we see a lot of Real Madrid fans touting is Alvaro Rodriguez, right? Last season, he just burst onto the fray with his goal against El Atletico, just saving us against in that match. But after that, when he went back to Castilla, he actually lost a lot of his form. So in this season, even though he started all of the games, he just scored 3 goals. In comparison, Nico Paz has 6 goals, and Gonzalo Garcia actually has 4 goals. So he's
Oh,
not
that's
he's not really in a red hot of form right now. So which is why he's not even getting any call ups for the just to make the match day squad in the Champions League and whatnot. So I don't expect him to really come onto the fray. Then we also have the likes of Peter Gonzalez, who's also a decent right winger, an option perhaps to just complete the matchday squads. But I hear that he is linked with Valencia, so he's probably going to leave out on loan in January. So we probably shouldn't count on him either. Uh, so the just since we're on the topic of Castilla, one player I do want to touch upon is Vinicius Tobias. We were seeing shouts for him all throughout last season, especially because Carvajal's form was really terrible. But this season, last season, he just wasn't ready. He was just too raw. He was horrible in defense, even worse than Lucas Vasquez and what he offers. So he just wasn't an option. But I feel like this time around, he has kind of turned it around. He has built his body a bit more. He's become a bit more reliable at the back, and he actually has 3 assists this season. So he is a really good creator as well. He can put in a decent cross when we actually need it. So maybe if these guys, make a match day squad and Carvajal needs some rest, we can see them again in the games like Union Berlin and whatnot. So, again goes back to how much Carlo actually trusts and how much Carlo rotates.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like as you just said, actually, it's quite interesting to see like Nico Paz, an attacking midfielder, with 6 goals. That's in that's one of the key things that we are actually looking towards the season is the ability of our midfielders to get into the goal. So that tells us that this is a kid that has an eye for a goal or something like that. So I don't know how again I don't know what the system of Castilla looks like. Maybe also it's a system that brings him to the fore or not. But it shows that this is someone that can get something done. But on the issue of Vinicius Tobias, I think as long as Lucas Vasquez is there, I just don't see, him getting a lot of opportunities, unfortunately.
Yeah, we say this now, but I'm again gonna touch wood, but we're just 1 or 2 injuries away from having a meltdown and just fielding all Castillo.
Wow. This your love for Casilla is interesting, man. You're even calling on injuries so that your Casilla boys can play. Fucking
I'm
hell.
not saying that. Come on, I'll never say that. But this is the reality. This is reality. Like, let's say Lucas Vazquez goes down, God forbid, and then we lo lose the goat. Who else is gonna play there? Chow Many at right back, Fede at right back. Maybe we see them before Vinicius Tobias, but yeah, that's a
Bro,
conversation.
I didn't tell you, but there's been some initial contacts between Carlo and my people. He's looking for able bodies to come and fill in spaces. So don't
Oh,
be
okay.
surprised being pulled up at one of these days at the Bernabeu. Like that's what I'm telling you, man. Before they go to these guys, they will even contact my agents that don't even exist yet, and ask them to recruit me before they play these guys. Well, anyways, man, on a more serious note, like I mean, yeah, you're totally right about the Vinicius Tobias thing. Like I just feel like again, as we mentioned earlier, like we're just basically, one injury or suspension away from the center back also to going into a crisis in the defense as well. So, yeah, I mean, in that case, we shouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised as well to see, Vinny Tobias being called up or given a chance or whatever it is. But right now, like it's not looking too bright for him, honestly, unless something dramatic happens, across the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, the season is still long. It's just 30% of the season, yeah. So we still have a long way to go, man.
absolutely. And I guess we kind of so the takeaway is we can expect some minutes for Castilla players, especially Nico Paz. I feel like Carlo trusts him a bit because we've already seen him play. With Carlo, it's always a trust-based system. It isn't a merit-based system. It's not about how much form you're in. It's about how much he trusts you. So I feel like Nico Paz has a trust of Ancelotti, and he's probably going to get some major minutes in the next couple of months. But the other players, I'm not too sure. And with you, obviously, made it clear that we're probably going to see you play before some of these Castilla guys.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you.
All right. So, let's come back to reality. Let's take a look at how what we can actually field in terms of first team players in some of these bigger games, in some of these La Liga games. So, if you bring up the first slide, we have Rodrigo and Jose up top, Bellingham over at his usual position, Modric, Cruz, and Fede, with Cruz as a DM playing in midfield, and then Mendy, of course, Alaba and Rudiger and Carvajal. I feel like we don't really need to talk about the defense because we haven't had any absentees there. Let's just focus on
Yeah.
the midfield and the attack. So this is the expected lineup, right? If we don't want to change the system too much, Bellingham plays in his usual position. Joselu gets more of a starting role, just replacing Vinicius, and we're gonna be back to seeing Cruz and Modric play together again.
Yeah, I mean, most likely, if I was a betting man, this is what I will bet the formation to look like at the weekend. But yeah, it's again, as you said, it's not something that's gonna fill us with a lot of confidence right now going in with Cruz as a six, with Modric also in there as well. So it's something that I will also be a bit worried and skeptical about how the team will, perform in this. But we just have to see what it looks like because, again, I always talk about the fact that the addition of Bellingham has added dynamism to the midfield. So I think that two-way ability of Jude, and we already know what Fede is. So those two guys, I think, is possible to cover for a lot of deficiencies. But the question now become like they're just two people. They cannot put out fire everywhere all over the pitch. So it also depends on what the opposition set up to look like. But I mean, with Cruz playing as a six and having someone else beside him, I'll totally be fine. But then playing both Cruz and Modric together with Cruz at the six is something that I'm not too really comfortable with. I would not lie.
I feel like even Carlo Ancelotti at this point is not too comfortable at this point. Like he's made that clear over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, but again, this is, I mean, how can you calculate the fact that Camavinga and Chouameni are gonna get injured at the same time? Like, this is something that is almost impossible to calculate. And as I said, honestly, like Cruz at the six with Jude and Fede is fine, but then the addition of Modric as well is what makes it a bit, ipsy tipsy, honestly. But I'm not too sure because, yeah, Modric has been good. Let's not say, good, not exceptional. Good so far. He's not hit the levels that he was hitting in the past. Obviously, it's normal. I mean, he's 38, gonna be 39, so it's totally normal and fine. How is he going to adapt to this role in this new, diamond thing is something that we just have to wait and see, man, honestly. But I'm
Great.
not too confident in this.
Uh, it just reminds me, like, what if we replace Modric with Ceballos? So if it's Ceballos, Bellingham, Cruz, and Fede, do you think we actually have the legs to make this work? So
Exactly.
Ceballos basically takes Camavinga's role.
Exactly. I think with that we have the legs to. I do believe that we have the legs to do this. But the question also becomes this: like Ceballos is also, ability to consistently produce is what has been in question here. Because Ceballos for Real Madrid has always been this like a flash of brilliance, and then he's injured, and then he's also back to trying to build some form, and then he hits the form, and then he gets injured. So like it's always been this cycle. You always question like, okay, is Dani Ceballos able to continuously provide, you know consistency at the highest level? This is the question that we need an answer to, and Ceballos hasn't provided an answer to yet so far. So this is the thing. But honestly, like with Dani Ceballos, if he's able to at least perform to be just around 7, I think 70% of Dani Ceballos is fair enough for the system. It's not gonna be something flamboyant, but at least it should get due to the games against the Cadizes and those guys and what is not. So yeah.
Absolutely. I have hopes for Dani Ceballos. He's just hitting his prime in terms of his age at least. And if Cruz and Modric leave next season, I feel like he's gonna be really crucial next season to, because he is one of the best passers in our team. I still feel like that because he has that vision to actually unlock the defense. And compared to the rest of the squad in midfield, he is the only one who can actually unlock defenses with just his passes. So we're really gonna count on him in the next seasons, coming seasons. And if the question is if, like you said, he maintains his fitness.
Yeah, that's important. Also, like one thing I always loved about Dani Ceballos is his ability in tight spaces as well. He has that thing, that not a lot of our midfielders have, is that ability to to escape, from tight positions, and that's one of the things also like Camavinga, was able to do very very well as well. So I think honestly, like if Dani Ceballos can come, into the middle of the park and gain some form and fitness, I do think like he might be a very very crucial addition, as you said, both this season and the next.
That's it. And before we head into the next formation, TF TT maybe has an interesting comment. So he asks, isn't Nico Paz and Arda Güler basically the same player in terms of position in the way they play?
Very
Uh,
good question.
so here's my take. I feel like Arda Güler, he is not that physical enough. He doesn't have the defensive aspect of his game yet. So Nico Paz is ahead of him in that way. We can actually replace him in place of Fede Valverde when needed. But with Arda if you replace Arda Güler with Fede Valverde, like that's just not gonna fly. We're totally gonna be lacking in midfield. But if we have to take out Bellingham, maybe then if we give a player of Arda Güler's profile a bit more space and time to actually express himself on the ball without worrying too much on the defensive side, then we can probably see a higher ceiling with him because he can actually do some magic on the ball.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's true. But I mean, again, this is the thing. I always say with at least when it comes to Arda, is that Arda has played just 6 months of proper football. So basically, you don't know what he's gonna end up looking like or what he's gonna be like. These are the formative stages. These are the times that are gonna mold him into whatever it is that he eventually becomes. So right now, like even if he looks like a 10 or if he looks like an 8 or if he looks like a 9.5 or whatever it is that he looks like, it's something that he's still just, I always say this, like it's not right to, in my opinion at least, it doesn't make sense to have any expectations of Arda right now because he's basically not even played real football in his life. He's played just 6 months of proper football. So like this is gonna be his exposure to what real football looks like. But unfortunately, he's gonna be exposed in a pressure cooker. So either it's a fight or flight mechanism. Either he fights or he flights. So it's one of the two things. Either he thrives and becomes and fulfills on his promise, or he just becomes one of those guys who tried and failed. So that's the thing. Like he's still very very young, and I'm saying young because football wise, because it's not, this is not like the situation we had with Camavinga when he had played 3 seasons with Trent before he joined us, or Chouameni, who had actually even transferred clubs, something like no. Like this is someone who's basically played 6 months of proper football.
Yeah, basically a Castilla level player, you would say.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, That's the thing. Like he's that level, but he has abundance of talent. This is why all the clubs were after him, obviously. So, but it's not easy, to make those jumps. That's why whether you like it or not, you always have to, credit what this youngsters have done. Like for example, Kylian Mbappe, like the likes of Leo Messi, the Cristianos, the Rooney's. Like at a very very young age, 16, 17, 18, all the pressure was there, and they were able to somehow exceed all expectations again. So it's crazy. It's really really crazy, honestly.
Yeah. All right. Let's head into the next possibility with actually changing up Jude's position. So instead of him playing as a number 10, we move him to Camavinga or maybe even Fede also. The formation is going to be Rodrigo and Joselu up top again. Brahim Diaz at the number 10. Bellingham, Cruz, and Fede, swapping positions in midfield.
Yeah, so the thing I actually I just don't think this will happen actually, Jacob, honestly. Because I think like this is a system that has been built for just one single man in a single position. And I just don't think an alternative will be sought. I do think though, Brahim and Jude might play together as a double 10.
A double 10. So,
Yeah.
so instead of a diamond,
I
it's a square. It's a square in the middle of the park.
So basically, when I mean a double 10, like maybe that's a stupid term to use, but it's like those teams that have two playmakers playing together.
So it's pretty much instead of out and out wingers, we have two inside wingers who don't have,
Exactly.
have too much width.
Exactly. So that way, like Fede and Cruz hold the fort down.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
that might be something. I don't know, but this is something actually that when I saw this now, because I just feel like they're not gonna take Jude away from that role. So I just kind of feel like maybe Jude and Brahim might play, as a double 10, something like we've seen in the past. With, for example, he had David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, playing for City as well. It was like they were playing double eights basically, with Fernandinho basically being the firefighter there, but
Mhm.
something like that. So I don't know if that's a system that can work, but I just kind of feel like not that exactly, but something a bit more advanced. With Brahim and Jude doing what they do, and the fact that also Jude is a two-way player, so maybe that might be also an additional benefit to that. I just don't know how it will work, but I can envision, Jude and Brahim playing together, but I just can't see, Jude playing deeper.
Mm. Uh, The reason why this is an option is because Jude is so versatile, right? He has the know-how to actually play in that position. He is good defensively. He can put in a ship, pressing people and whatnot. And this is just an option when we face a bigger team where we need an additional defensive cover. But just with your formation of playing Brahim and Bellingham as two number 10s almost, that's certainly something I can see when we actually need a goal, when we're chasing something. Rodrigo, Joselu, throw everything at the wall, see what sticks.
That's quite interesting. You need a goal and you just throw everything on the wall, and the player you're gonna bring on is Brahim Diaz. Fucking hell, bro. It is what it is, man.
Or Nico
It is
Paz
what it
or
is.
Gonzalo Garcia, you take your pick.
I mean, honestly, I'm fine with bringing Arthur, Alvaro Rodriguez on, honestly, because I mean, this is his job is to get goals. If he scores, he scores. He doesn't score, he doesn't score. But his job is to get goals eventually. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I can understand, because based on what Brahim has shown so far, like at least in flashes, it's shown us that he's also someone, if given the chance, can have an eye for goal as well. But again, we just, don't know to what extent that is right now, So yeah, that might sound, a bit hypocritical considering the fact that I'm mentioning Alvaro Rodriguez in the same sentence, basically someone who is the very definition of what an unknown quantity is, So I
Yeah.
don't know, man, but it's just the unfortunate situation we find ourselves in right now. But yeah, man, I think this is something that's definitely going to happen when we're chasing a goal, double 10. Brahim and Jude, or maybe even Arda and Jude, or whatever whatever it is that happens eventually later on. But I do think that idea of a double 10 or whatever it's gonna be.
Mhm.
But then again, one thing we always see is that these formations are just arbitrary. You just have players on the pitch and they just drift into positions based on their intelligence and what's there. I mean, especially when it's common. It's Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid, man. The power of friendships cannot can never be doubted, bro. So I mean, just even throw 11 number 9s onto the pitch and they will find a way to find a formation to to make it out. But yeah, I do think we will see this also sometime in the
Yeah,
future.
you bring up an interesting point. Like, there's actually no difference between playing Jude deep and Jude playing up front because we saw in the Rayo game where he actually played a lot deeper. He was playing in that role that we're talking about, and
Yeah.
we saw how that worked out. So let's see how it goes. So finally, now we're heading into fantasy land where we're dropping Joselu. We're dropping Joselu in the starting lineup. So it's Rodrigo and Bellingham up top, Brahim at the number 10, Ceballos or Modric along with Cruz and Fede Valverde. Do you see
Yeah.
this
So
happening,
this
Farah?
is
Like, so this is something
I
I feel like this happened in the El Clasico in preseason, and this is how we played. We didn't have Joselu on the pitch. Brahim played, Rodrigo played.
I do think this is possible, actually, Jacob. That's why I mentioned to you earlier the idea of playing five midfielders, because basically this is what it looks like: five
Mhm.
midfielders and a striker, or and a forward, which is Rodrigo. I do
A
think, okay,
forward?
maybe
Like,
not.
do you think there's a forward in this lineup? I don't think so.
I mean, Rodrigo is a forward, no? He's a
My
winger
God.
come forward.
If you say so, okay.
I mean, for simplicity's sake, let's just assume that Rodrigo is a four. Let's not get into the demographics of it, or whatever it is. But what I'm just
Sure.
saying is that, like, I do believe that this formation with a midfield five is possible, but maybe not with the personnel that we are showing on the screen right now. Jude, Brahim, Danny, Tony, and Fede. Maybe it might not be this. Luca might be in there as well. Arda might be in there as well.
Mhm.
So I just feel like this is something that will happen. I genuinely feel like in this 2 month stretch, this is something that will happen. Five midfielders and one forward, either it's Rodrigo or or Roselo. Honestly, it's something that I feel like will happen. Just the personnel is not what I know. I don't know what the personnel might look like, honestly, but I would not be surprised at all. And I think it makes sense because even when you see, like, in certain games, I think even in the last game we played against Valencia, I think like this sort of happened where, like,
Yep.
he removed the strikers, and basically we had just, I think, Vini, or sorry, Rodrigo was the only one left on the pitch, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
I think
Vinny was
Rodrigo was
taken
the only
out.
one left.
Yep.
Exactly. So it was basically, just a strikerless formation for a certain period of time, in the game. So it wasn't a strikerless, but basically it was just this.
Yep.
It was just this. So that's why I feel like, this is not something, too, I don't know. It's not too utopian. Like, it's not necessarily fantasy land. I genuinely don't think it's fantasy land, honestly.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like we can see this, especially because, Joselu can't play every game. That's just a fact. We might need different. I mean, I feel like our best lineup is with Joselu, no matter what this season. But let's see how it goes. Let's see if this becomes the go-to lineup for Carlo going on. So before we head into the next formation, let's take a couple of comments. So Sunit says he's very into the power of positivity freedom instead of the power of friendship. The, the things that we have to come up, the words that we have to come up with to explain Carlos' tactics. And
Power of position. I mean, yeah,
go ahead.
man. Anyways, man, it's interesting, man. Honestly,
Yeah. And Sun
but
says,
that's
oh, go ahead.
yeah. What?
Oh, yeah, Sun was saying, how about Alaba CDM, like the days that Ramos and Pepe were filling in? That's exactly where we were going to, my friend. So if you take a look at our formation right now, we have Rodrigo Bellingham up top, maybe Joselu filling in. And no, the lineup stays the same. It's just that instead of Cruz playing as a six, we have Alaba playing there and Cruz playing higher up. So this is not 2020, right? Like this is not the Alaba that we signed. I don't think that he is that mobile nowadays to actually pull this off. Or maybe I'm mistaken, and because we just haven't seen him in that position. But do you think this is a real possibility?
Nah, I don't think so. I think now we're moving into fantasy football. Then I
Fantasy
think
football, yeah.
officially we have moved into fantasy football. I do think with
Ah,
the personnel we have, I think like Alaba is not gonna play midfield anytime soon. I mean, unless Tony Cruz also drops,
hmm.
God forbid, then we might start to think about that. But I think as long as
I'm immediately gonna touch wood. I just can't can't accept that fact. Oh boy.
I just think like with the personnel we have right now, I just don't see us going through this. I don't see, because I think even if Cruz drops, I think we're gonna go to still a double pivot.
Mm.
We're gonna play Fede and Luka, Fede and Danny, whatever it is. I just feel like playing Alaba there kind of takes. Nah, I just feel like it's fantasy football, bro. I don't see that happening, man. As you said,
What
man,
is
it's
actually like? I know I
2020.
feel the same way, but I can't pinpoint to as to why Alaba can't play CDM. Do you actually have an answer? Because I can't think of any. I just feel like he's lost a bit of mobility, but that's about it.
No, it's not about actually about Alaba as a person. I just think about it's about the personnel we have.
Mm,
Because like when these guys were playing CDM, like when Ramos was playing CDM, like Alonso was out, Khedira was out.
right.
So like the point is, are you gonna ask Ozil to be your number 10? That's all your CDM. I mean, if you're gonna put Ozil as your CDM, just open a gate and just put an open gate there and just go. So that's the thing. Like I think it's more about the personnel. That's the thing. Like where I just feel like as long as we have this central midfielders there,
Mhm.
because right now in the team we don't have any like attacking midfield. Okay, like maybe Brahim is the one, and then maybe Arda Güler. But we don't have like those offensive number 10s like the James Rodriguez or the Mesut Ozils. We
The
don't
ones who
have
can
those
get you
kind.
the goals.
We exactly. No, what I'm. It's not even about that's one point. I'm just trying to point out we don't have those players that like they are so lacking defensively that playing them without the DM is just suicide.
Mm,
Because right now, I mean, Jude was a deep playing. Jude was a deep playing box to box midfielder at Borussia. You can play Fede as Jude as a double pivot as well. I mean, if push comes to shove.
yeah,
You understand? So that's why I just don't think it's about David Alaba's deficiencies or abilities. I just think it's about the personnel we have.
agreed. That makes a lot of sense. And finally, speaking about fantasy football, like we actually expect Carlo to switch formations because we don't have a lot of midfielders at the moment. So it's either Cruz and Fede or Cruz and Bellingham playing as in a 4-2-3-1 as a double pivot with no diamond. With actually, we actually have a couple of wingers, and then Carvajal and Mendy don't have to attack that much going forward. Do you think that we actually see a switch in formation and a switch in system this late into the season?
Yeah, no, man, I just don't see that because I feel like this is here to stay, bro.
I feel like they're just banking on Jude's qualities. We We're probably going to be too shaken up or too scared to actually change things
Yeah.
up or ruin his form.
But I tell you one thing, though. I do feel like if one midfielders fall, I think there's going to be definitely a change in formation.
Oh, definitely. I feel like the most important component of this diamond working is going to be Fede. If something happens to Fede or if he gets a suspension, we've immediately got to go back to the 4-3-3 man. We will officially have no legs to play the diamond anymore.
I totally agree with you, man. I cannot disagree anymore. I think Bellingham might have more significance, but I think for this diamond to keep working, at least with the people we have right now, I think if Fede goes, the diamond is gone.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that sense. I think even if Cruz goes, I think the diamond can still stay in some form. But I think, if Fede goes, I think the diamond is gone for sure. I hope Fede doesn't go though, because what the fuck, bro? I mean, if Fede goes, man, what are we doing, bro?
come on, man. We have Nico Pass. Have some faith, man. But yeah, Fede is so crucial to this to make that two-way presence known. Even in attack, he can play as a winger at times in midfield and as a right back at the same time. If we lose him, that's it. We can write the season off, basically.
Definitely, bro. It's gonna be so bleak, man. Honestly, but Jacob. One thing actually is that going through the stuff with you actually just kind of puts us into the zone of what coaches have to deal with week in week out, day in day out, man. And bro, it's not easy. Even now, we could not even just come up with something or just yeah, this and that or this and that, and people are basically being paid and jobs are on the line for this kind of decisions, man. Like they get it drunk, like it's all fucked up and what is not. Yeah, obviously, they go into more intricate systems. We're just here doing just something on the surface without going into details of what the positional place looks like and what is not. But I mean, just for this highlights the the difficulty of a manager's job. Honestly, like it's it's not easy, to be able to figure out these patterns and this connectivities and how to connect or interconnect players rather. It's crazy, bro. Honestly, it's really crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, these are the times that, I really appreciate Carlo Ancelotti. Like, he is going to come out with a smiling face. He's going to say, we have a really strong squad. And then he's going to name some random Castilla players. He might not even play them, but he's going to say, we have such a deep squad. We have Nico Paz, we have Gonzalo Garcia, and whatnot. So he's just going to keep the morale up, make sure the team can actually have the belief to go on and win things. And, the only goal of these two couple of months is just that keep our team alive in all competitions, keep morale up. That's the only thing that can do.
Yeah, I definitely will never disagree about what you just said. Like, I might have my reservations about Carlo, but what you just said now, it basically sums up who he is. Like, he's a guy who's gonna try to find a way to try to circumnavigate this. Maybe that's the reason why he's such a good coach that he is. Like, it's the ability to move to away from distance, because I can just imagine now, like, just go to a Pep team and remove 5-6 players, and definitely they're crumbling, man. I mean, we've seen that with Liverpool as well in the past. With Klopp's team, you remove 3 players, they crumble. So that's very real. And the one thing about Carlo is that he's not gonna come and start mourning about the injuries and anything. He's just gonna try to figure out the way that works best for his players. Like, maybe not the again, yeah, maybe not a system, not the best pattern of football play, or whatever it is, just finding the best person to get the job done on the day. So yeah, as you said, this is the moment you want Carlo to be your coach. Honestly, this is, if there is any moment, this is the moment when you want Carlo to be your coach.
Absolutely. So yeah, I guess we'll have to see how these couple of months play out. But we do have a post-match and a preview coming on for the Cadiz game. It's probably going to be on Friday. Do tune in for that. So we'll get into how our lineups look like. We'll also get more additional news on how the injuries are looking like. Ceballos and Bellingham, maybe even Kepa might come back. So stay tuned for that. But before we go, Farooq, I do have an interesting point to bring up. You know, do you know who's the third top scorer in international football right now?
Who is
Third or
that?
fourth? Third or fourth? So this guy surpassed Pele right now. Uh, he has more goals in international football than Pele.
Really?
Yep. It happened
Ali
on the
Dai?
weekend. Nope. Someone who still plays football.
Lukaku?
Yep.
Lukaku, right?
Yep, it's Lukaku. So he scored four for Belgium.
Bro, do you know, actually I read something on a sub today, and what the
Mhm.
guy, what one comment was a very good comment. He was saying, like, Lukaku is gonna end his career as a footballer who has scored many goals that no one will remember.
I, I would remember him, especially if I was an Inter fan.
Like, it's gonna be like, okay, there is this guy, he scored goals. Like, okay, when I mean, obviously people will remember, like, we will remember who Lukaku is, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say is that
Yep.
no one will attribute him to any significant team. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, he has scored all the goals, but then what has he achieved?
Okay.
Fucking hell, man. Honestly, I mean, and the thing is that it's Lukaku's own downfall. He made all the bullshits himself. Like, I understand. I
Do
think
you
the only
think,
time I feel.
wait, do you actually think he had the ability to become a top striker, someone who would be respected, if he had, a better persona and managed his
I
time well?
definitely think so, because for me, I think the only time he was genuinely maltreated was at United.
Mm.
I definitely
Did
think,
he
like,
start out his career at Everton or somewhere else? I forget.
no, he started like, he was at Chelsea, then he
Uh-huh.
went to West Brom on loan, then he transferred to Everton, and then he transferred to United, and then from United to Inter to Chelsea, Chelsea back to Inter, and then.
Fucking hell. That's a lot.
That's a lot, bro. That's a lot. I mean, the point is, I honestly feel like, United, it was horseshit, bro. Like, the English press and United not having a manager and this and that, like, it's fucking horseshit and all that. But other than that, like, I feel like Lukaku just dealt himself. I mean, the interview he had when he left Conte, sorry, when he left Inter and Conte to go to Chelsea, and then he was like, yeah, Inter is my home. I never wanted to leave, this and that. And then he goes back to Inter, and then he promises them he's gonna join them. he stops picking the call of the president, he stops picking the call of his fellow teammates, and then all of a sudden, he's calling them to tell them that he's not gonna join.
And yeah, like Sunit says in the comments, he kissed every single badge as well. I'm just going.
uh, yeah, man. I mean, honestly, I just feel like Lukaku. Yeah, I was in his, I was really, really, trying always. I always try to, kind of be like, yeah, but Lukaku, just put him in the right situation. Like, he's not the best footballer, but like he's someone who's very strong and can score goals. Where the post is, and well, the point is, there's always a bit of story around every player as well, and when once you go, I mean, what he did this summer was like I mean, come on, no one does that, man. I mean, we're adults, man. Just pick up the phone, like, yeah, I can play with you. That's it, done and dusted. There is simple as that, man. No, you don't owe anyone.
Such an immature guy.
Exactly, and if there's anything, footballers actually always back footballers because they know that this management guys are just there to make their money. We have to look out for each other, But when even your teammates are calling you and you're not picking up the fucking phone, man. I mean, yeah, sure, he's gonna score a lot of goals, but no one is gonna fucking remember him, man. That's just the thing.
Yeah, I think TT maybe sums it up. He says, "I promise you, Lukaku will make you depressed. He will occasionally score, but he will miss in the most important moments. As if we don't have enough heart attack moments as it is." Oh yeah, like we're definitely not talking about signing him at Real Madrid, but
oh God. No.
no.
Come on. You wanna put a combination of Carlo and Lukaku together, bro? You guys want me to die early, I think.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, I guess that's Lukaku and Real Madrid rumors. That's the right time to end the podcast. Uh, So yeah, thanks for all of you guys still in the chat for keeping us company, for all of your wonderful comments. So TT, maybe San, Sunair, Ashik, all of you guys, big up. Even Madrid, even Ashik, yeah, Prince Arthur as well. All of you guys, Star Saliba, thanks for tuning in. And if you're still here, do hit the like and thumbs up, and then stay tuned for our preview for the Cadiz game. Do join us on our La Liga, previews as well. Show us some love there. But before we go, last but not the least, let's just check out our content over at Instagram and Twitter and whatnot. So Sid has some nice fan cams for you. So we do have our Napoli game coming up. So expect some really good content out of that. Expect some footage out of the Bernabeu. And also check out our partners over at Real Madrid Committee. So, some awesome content, and we really appreciate the support that they give us constantly. So, Farooq, what to say before we go?
Hala Madrid!
Hala Madrid!